Well, thank you for that introduction. I have been waiting for this moment, of course. I think my husband will be more relieved than anybody because he said last night, "Do I have to listen to the household model again?" And I said, "No." He said, "Well, you'll be right. You can talk underwater." So I should be fine. But we do have 50 minutes together, so I hope you enjoy this. At Alzheimer's Australia WA, we are fortunate enough to provide services specifically for people with dementia. And the West Australian State Government has asked us through the Dementia Partnership Project to share with you what we have learnt within the service development model over the past 16 years. And more recently, the work that we have done with DPP and our partnerships. Hands up those of you who work in centre-based daycare or have done so, or whose organisation have day centres. There's a lot of you here, which is great. Not too many that don't. But apologies if you're not supporting a day centre, because this is what the next 50 minutes is going to be about, transforming your centre, if it's not already. I'm sure you'll still find the presentation of interest. As we work our way through, you will see why the work we do around culture change is challenging. And I don't mean because of the client group that we work with. I'm talking mainly about the staff and how challenging it can be working with staff who don't want to move. Caroline, I'm remembering the tech. I'm not so good at this either. So that was my first slide and I'm moving on to the next one. Why centre-based daycare? Is centre-based daycare a thing of the past, or is it a way of the future? With the introduction of consumer-directed care, some providers are weighing up whether or not centre-based daycare is a service that can be sustained in the new paradigm of service provision. Is centre-based daycare going to be financially viable? Something we're all thinking about. And is centre-based daycare a service that consumers will want to access in the future? And it was great listening to you, Barry, because it's obvious that the friendship clubs are helping with socialisation and meeting friends and relationships, etc. If this is familiar to you, if this is your view of good centre-based daycare, one that is routined and structured with little flexibility, where staff decide what the activities will be, what time morning tea is and what time it will begin and end, where clients are not offered choices, where people with dementia can't make decisions for themselves, then this sort of centre-based daycare is definitely a thing of the past. When we're going through a culture change process and reviewing the way we work, we need to work through our own personal beliefs and attitudes. The organisation requires a redesign, and transforming the physical environment so that it works with us and not against us are the 3 points we have to consider first and foremost. Because we are working with people and not machines, the work we do challenges us on a daily basis as we continue to learn, grow and develop as people and as organisations who are supporting people with dementia as we transform ourselves within a wellness and reablement model which is client-centred and built on relationships and connections for the people who access them and for the people who work within them. Along with developing physical environments that support a person to feel secure and autonomous, where they have opportunity to grow through identity, connectedness and meaning. Not one that is a mechanical experience for the clients and the staff, but a place that is organic and not one that is routine and structured and limits the well-being of all the people who access it. As a whole, society's view on ageing is one that as we grow old, we are perceived as useless. Aged people are often seen as being less able to perform as well as they did and make informed decisions. If this is how people are viewed as they age, no wonder society's view on people with dementia is even more harsh. And more frustratingly is the larger majority of service providers see them this way as well. As Colleen said, a diagnosis of dementia does not immediately mean a person has lost capacity. And as the disease progresses, some capacity is lost, but some still remains. Firstly, what chance do people with dementia have to live a fulfilled life if service providers continue to provide centre-based daycare in a structured traditional model? As a whole, the majority of service providers are creating dependency models, a model that is a paradigm away from the wellness model that our own state government fund us to provide. And why? Is it easier? Is it to litigate risk to our own organisation? Or is it society's view as we age and as we grow older and people with dementia are seen as being less capable of living a fulfilled life because they are no longer able to respond the way they did before their diagnosis? Even the term centre-based daycare implies a stigma. The older, frail-aged adults and people with dementia require caring for. Writer Kerry Dwendovey didn't think it would be difficult to write a novel from the point of view of a man in his late 80s. Dovey, a 30-something novelist, concocted a generic old man who was crabby and computer illiterate. Another main character was an eccentric old woman who wore magenta-coloured turbans and handed out safe sex pamphlets. But as Dovey wrote late last year in The New Yorker, her effort revealed the problem with assumptions. After reading her first draft, an editor inquired, "But what else are they other than old?" What a great question. When age is the defining feature, our personalities, beliefs, individuality are replaced with stereotypes of incompetence, debilitation and dependency, which leads to one of the most damaging of the discriminating behaviours of ageism. We start treating older adults like children. I'm a Facebook stalker. I got this photo off Facebook. Sorry, Dr. Al. I did know you were coming though. To quote Al Power, in the case of dementia, it confines those who are not at higher risk and ignores the fact that those who are at higher risk also have needs to move and to be outdoors. In the case of employees, it treats your best workers like potential criminals, and for those who have shown less initiative, it provides no pathway to help them to grow to greater accountability in their work. And we see this so often in the work that we are doing. End of quote, just before that. Sorry, Al. When a service dictates what a person can and cannot do, where the activity is scheduled and routined, where staff believe they are in charge of the clients, where clients do what the staff want them to do because it's on the planner and that's what we're going to do, where there is little opportunity for the person with dementia to be autonomous and to be involved in the decision-making of that service, then if this is your point, if this is your view of providing services, then this traditional model, this type of centre-based daycare is definitely a thing of the past. At Alzheimer's Australia WA, we believe that people with dementia want to be involved. We've got people like Anthea out there working in the community now, doing forums with people, and they are telling us what it is that they want. And again, thanks to you, Barry. There's no doubt about it. People with dementia want to be identified as people who have life experience to share with others and continue to have purpose in their lives, where they have the opportunity to be connected to people and the community, where they feel secure and not isolated and locked away, where they have meaningful opportunities that are unique to them as individuals, and for the opportunity to continue to grow and experience as much joy as you and I. At Alzheimer's Australia WA, we support the household model. We have been working with the household model now for almost 16 years. We have 3 thriving households. In Albany, we have Hawthorne House. In Perth, in Shenton Park, we have our Mary Chester Centre. And now in Mandurah, we have Ella's House. We're going to show you a brief DVD. And what you will see here is a household model in action that has been growing and developing since 2002. It will take about 8 minutes, so please enjoy this short DVD. Thank you.
At Alzheimer's Australia WA, we've been on a long journey revisioning how we see dementia and how we support people living with it. We believe that dementia is a human experience, not just a biological or medical condition. We therefore think that any care environment ought to see the person first and not the disease, and it should address the 7 domains of well-being. This model of care is often referred to as person-centred care.
The Eden Alternative model, it's a culture change model that supports the implementation of person-centredness. So for us, it gave us a framework to do that. We changed our vision that our day centres were going to be places where people with dementia could come. We would focus on well-being, we would focus on enhancing well-being, and through that we would enhance personhood.
We look at eliminating loneliness, helplessness and boredom for those people by introducing companionship, the opportunity to give and receive, and to have some variety and spontaneity in their lives. By doing this, we actually support a person to raise their self-esteem, to feel a sense of belonging, and to embrace navigating through an environment and doing things that they actually find quite meaningful themselves.
I came here and immediately I said, wow, this is a place I want Gil in. And thankfully he got a position here and he has been so happy. He never once says he doesn't want to go.
The first time I ever left him at Hawthorn House, I felt a bit guilty. When I came and picked my husband up, I didn't feel guilty anymore because he was very happy and, oh, you're back. And I thought, oh, okay.
It sounds really simple, but changing the cultural thinking of staff about why they were there, what their jobs were. So traditionally they'd thought of their jobs as, I'm here to care for somebody, and they translated that into, I'm here to do for you. When we do everything for somebody with dementia, we actually are doing them a great disservice, and we're taking away yet more things from them. So getting them to understand that their job as support workers was actually to help facilitate the club members to not only do for themselves, but wherever possible do for each other as well. And helping the staff to get the emotional reward from that was really the Eden philosophy in practice.
It's a very caring environment. I feel that everyone's there for each other. The club members also take on a caring role, which I really like. You know, it's such a nice thing to see when you see one of the club members helping someone else, because I feel that they can relate to each other a lot more than, say, the staff can on a very special level.
Oh, I love it up here. It's something special.
It's the companionship you get when you come up here, especially the staff.
I couldn't put it into words, you know. I can say it now because I'm here. It's better than home.
Person-centred care is fundamental to our vision, our culture and our practice. And emerging research evidence shows that person-centred care achieves really strong clinical outcomes in people with dementia. So it isn't just a nice idea.
It's really important that we spend a lot of time getting to know the person, to know their identity, what they want to remain connected to. By doing that, the person then starts to feel a little bit more secure in the environment. They feel that connection, they feel a sense of belonging, and then that gives them the opportunity to feel more autonomous, where they can actually start navigating freely through the environment and looking at things to do that have meaning and purpose to them.
We talk very much about personhood, and that's really about how you feel about yourself. Now, for people with dementia, because they're losing an awful lot, they're losing their memories, they're losing their abilities, often people stop them from taking risk in life, so they actually withdraw and get isolated, and so that personhood becomes very diminished.
It's the opportunity to grow that actually makes a person's life worth living. We all have to have that opportunity to continue to grow no matter where we are in our lives. And I think this is what really supports the joy for a person so that they continue to have a really joyful life. People who access our service have access to the kitchen, they have access to our men's shed, they work in the garden, and often they can just navigate freely around our environments. We have gender-specific clubs, and we have men's days and ladies' days, and this seems to support the men, for example. They enjoy coming because they build companionship, they become great mates. And with the ladies, they also become great friends and they start supporting one another. And from that, we start building a great sense of community.
All the women that come here, we have a ladies club on a first Wednesday of the month, and we all say how fabulous this place is. We would be so sad if our husbands didn't have the opportunity to enjoy it.
Another thing that's very important for our staff is to access what we call a learning circle. The learning circle is an opportunity for us to sit together as a staffing group and learn from each other about the club members, to be able to hand over information to them and to talk about what our day might look like. We also need to look at welcoming variety and spontaneity. You can't schedule variety and spontaneity, you have to know how to welcome it. Nothing more spontaneous than a 2-year-old knocking on your door and coming in for the day, or someone bringing in their newborn baby for everyone to have a look at. So we don't work on a routine or a structure, we work very much with what we've got on a daily basis.
I love the animals being here, and the birds and the chooks, and they wander around. I mean, the people can wander around and see the chooks and the dogs here on a regular basis, and that's fantastic. It's just made, as I said, it's like home.
Shifting from a more traditional medical model into a person-centred model has had some huge successful outcomes, and I think when you see the impact that it has on the personhood of people with dementia who come into our services, you really wouldn't want to do it any other way.
This video seeks to inspire all health and care professionals to dare to dream, to see and respond to dementia differently. We believe that person-centred care is as necessary as it is achievable.
You're one of them, you're one of their family, you're not just Mrs Brown down the street sort of thing. Yeah, they really care about everybody as an individual. It's really helped me and many, many others that I know.
I don't know why they look after us old. I won't say it. They look after us old fellas really well.
I really don't know if I could work anywhere else as a support worker. It's such a special place here.
But I go away with a happy heart, definitely.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's silence at the window, I see the light out.
We get. Well done, everyone. Well done, everyone.
It's not the end of me, sorry. I've got to keep going for a little bit longer. But having seen that DVD, and having seen what can be achieved, do you think a household model enhances wellbeing for people with dementia? Yes? Great. What we've found from some of our providers, some people do say that they can't work this way. They say that people with dementia have to be protected, people with dementia can't be put at risk, people with dementia can't make decisions for themselves, people with dementia must be kept safe and secure, people with dementia must constantly be monitored, people with dementia can't take responsibility for themselves or their actions. The list is endless. And yes, through our work we do see this. For those of you who would like some more information, I would recommend you view a presentation we did last year at the 2015 Symposium by Ash Osborne on everyday risk and dignity, because we can't spend time on it, but it's a really important factor when we're in a household model that we do look at how we can actually support risk for people. Kate Swaffer is a person who is living with dementia. If I'd been diagnosed with, say, a cancer or really serious heart disease, I would have been told to go home and I wouldn't have been told to go home and get ready to die via daycare. I would have been told to fight for my life. I would have been told to get it healthy. If people with dementia are being told this, to attend centre-based daycare, then as providers we have a responsibility to create environments that support a person's identity. Like Barry said when he spoke to us earlier this morning, he wants to stay positive, he wants to set goals, he wants to feel of value and purpose, that's why he volunteers, and that makes him feel good. He attends a club, he socialises, it gives friendships and relationships. He wants to continue to use his abilities and stay connected to the community. This is achievable, and at centre-based daycare, if we look at how we can start transforming our model, then we can actually work our way through where we currently are sitting. If you look at this, I can't say that everybody is sitting in a traditional model or a basic household model, but we are going to move from traditional through to basic, intermediate, advanced and exemplar. And we'll show you some of the things that start changing and evolving as we move through the models. Decisions are made in a traditional model by management, pushed down to staff. Implementation is expected, monitored and corrected by department heads and ultimately pushed down to clients. Morning tea and lunch times are scheduled and routine, no deviating or flexibility, and meal times must be finished well in time before the next activity. Morning tea is served from a tea trolley. Staff know what a client's preferred drink is. Food is plated up and the intake of food is monitored by staff. Places are set for clients to sit. Staff stand over clients while they eat and clear the plates while some clients are still eating. This service delivery is an efficiency model, efficient and cost-effective for staff and the organisation. Here, the majority of staff have ownership over everything that happens. When managers support change, some staff are resistant and refuse to change, making any change almost impossible. To support change, it is important to develop a leadership team made up of a cross-section of staff including management, centre supervisor and support staff. The team puts everything about the service under the microscope and look at what is working well and what is not. Communication from management to staff, documentation, the environment, wellness and reablement for clients, what's meaningful and language, for example. In this stage, it is important to acknowledge to other staff that all is not bad. Point out what is working well. A service, no matter how traditional, has some great things about it. For example, the Anzac celebrations, the Christmas celebrations, the Be Active Games, things that are already deeply embedded are things that we have to value and respect. It's important to acknowledge those existing traditions so staff feel valued for their efforts in making a difference. It's the old saying here that rings very true. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If we do this, it also supports the service to get the right people on the bus, and I mean get the right staff. There are always some staff who get it, who want to be more flexible in their approach, but get worn down by all the cynicism. It's not all bad, but it does restrict people from being innovative and creative. When the leadership team has acknowledged what is working well and sets a positive view for the desired changes moving forward for the best interest of the client group, the leadership team is established, and once the team has had a really good look at what's working and what's not, they decide what they're going to leave behind and take with them on that journey. Now the culture change work can begin, and the team are considering what a basic household model might look like. Communication has to improve, so staff have to work out how they can meet daily. Meetings are documented and include a client review and plan for the day. The activity planner, yes, the activity planner and structure still has to stay in this traditional model as you're getting ready to move into the new way, so that staff still feel supported when things go a bit pear-shaped, they have something to fall back on. Once staff and volunteers and clients and families are advised that something is going to change, there is a certain level of education that is expected, but the scene has been set and everybody knows that you are going to start moving forward. The staff that are enthusiastic and excited are encouraged to be so. Let's say, for example, one support worker, Sally, has suggested she start doing some knitting. And there are still some staff, while you're in the phase of explaining what might happen, who still remain resistant and say it's not going to work, we're not going to do it. But you are moving forward because you have made the decision that things are going to be different, and you start moving into the basic household model. You have now committed to becoming a household model, and you move away from that traditional model into the basic. In this phase, you have done a lot of work in the traditional model about what's working and what's not. You have to take your existing policies and procedures with you because they are going to make the framework for you to have sustainability. Things to do here is spend time with all those groups who make up the community, your clients, families, staff and volunteers, and talk to them about the changes that will occur. You cannot impose change on people. You have to bring them along with you. This takes time, sitting around chatting to each group about what's working and what's not, and what it is that is going to change. Setting the scene is so important, and it is important that you invest time here so that staff and volunteers become positive and more enthusiastic. What has changed here already, moving from traditional to basic? The management have relinquished some of that push-down decision-making and start supporting staff. At a meeting recently with families and clients that I facilitated for a partnership about changing from the traditional model to the basic household model, a client stood up and loudly and proudly voiced her opinion. She said, "I'm fed up with everyone thinking I can't do things for myself. I'm glad we're going to make some changes. I might be old and I might be frail and more forgetful, but I'm not useless yet." In this stage, the environment is the key to change. Staff and volunteers are still challenged as they engage clients in a different way. But the service delivery, while it still might be seen as being efficient, is moving towards decision-making being made by the clients. Clients are more involved and are offered choice. There will still be some struggles with clients and staff perhaps not accepting the new way of being. Staff who have hopped on board are starting to feel more empowered. The leadership team discussed with everyone about changing the morning tea experience for clients to be more independent. Now, this may remain an ongoing struggle for some time yet, but the leadership team is providing hands-on support over morning tea time. That's different. And only a few of the clients are accepting the change, so staff sit with them and have a lot more discussion each morning about the benefits for them to be more independent. Those clients that are on board are getting a cuppa for their friend or helping those that are a little less able. We're supporting that. Let's say one staff member and one volunteer refuse to support the new change. This is up to the leadership team to continue to support those who are struggling to come to terms with what's changing in the environment. Everything has to be slow and steady. Sally is able to advise everyone her findings now because they're meeting regularly in the morning. And her findings are that some of the clients are not actually enjoying the knitting group. Well, we all know that. Not everybody in the whole group is going to want to start knitting. So, policies and procedures might still remain the same, but the leadership team continues to support everyone in the centre and work with staff and volunteers as they explore this brave new world, again looking at what's working and what's not. Time spent in the basic household model for as long as needed. Supporting culture change does not have a time limit. Some services need more time than others. Why? Because we are working with people and not machines. When the culture starts to change, when staff and volunteers start seeing the benefits of working in a different way, that there are benefits for the clients but also for themselves, they start to feel valued and appreciated and are enjoying some autonomy in their work. And then change just happens. Once your service starts to warm up, things really start to change, almost by osmosis. The service becomes almost unrecognisable. Routine and structure are a thing of the past, and staff become brave and start to try new things and celebrate success and see their failures as learnings. The leadership team continue to nurture staff teams to continue to grow. Although the traditional department structure remains in the intermediate model, Staff have now formed consistent work teams and consistent work days. Clients are encouraged to decide on names for their groups, and the centre now becomes a club. Clients form the decision-making. Committees are formed, client committees, to support the service's daily opportunities. There's a kitchen committee, menu planning committee, garden committee, animal committee and children committee. Clients are being involved and ownership is starting to form. Yes, in the intermediate model, we're becoming more sophisticated. There's children and animals that make up a part of the day club on a regular basis. The policies and procedures that have been brought along with us are no longer looking the same as they did in the traditional model or the basic household model, but they have started to evolve into a household model, so the policies and procedures are looking very different. Staff, volunteers, clients and families' education is now high on the agenda. The documentation is being reviewed, as I said, the policies and procedures reviewed, and the environmental audit would be of benefit. The scene is set. The leadership team continue to celebrate with staff and volunteers on their successes, and failures now are seen as ways of continuous improvement. Sally's knitting group. Sally's realised that knitting's not for everyone. 2 of the gentlemen have asked to join, and those who don't want to attend the knitting group have said they'd like to cook, some would like to play rummy cub, some would like to spend time in the garden, and others would like to go walking out in the community each day. Staff support this to happen. Club days start to change and evolve too, and each club day starts developing its own characteristics. Support plans are now evolving. They're written in the first person with the person. They aren't taken directly off the RAS. They include goal setting based on the group about the centre-based daycare household environment. In this stage, the environment is working for you as a staff group and, more importantly, for our clients. It is providing more stimulation, engagement and flexibility. Staff are doing with the client and not for the client. And Sally and that knitting group, Sally now has 2 new members. They're knitting teddies for the local children's hospital. And each week, instead of staying at the centre, they chose to go to the local cafe and sit and knit there. Sally's waiting for more volunteers so that other people can join. Communication between the team has become far more sophisticated. Staff insist on resolving issues as they arise. Communication is open, honest and transparent between the team. Policies and procedures are so evolved. They include playgroups, schools, but not schools accessing the day club now. They're starting to think about groups of people going and listening to the children read in the schools. Everything is becoming far more advanced. In the advanced model, the structure changes and support workers are developing skills to coordinate team efforts. Staff take responsibility for work areas, such as the kitchen, the shed, the playgroup, special events, but more importantly, clients are very involved. In fact, they make the decisions on a daily basis. The activity planner is a thing of the past. Staff confidence has increased. Open communication with clients at morning tea time now helps shape the daily activity. Clients are well known by staff and staff are well known to clients. You can see how much things have started to change. Staff continue to meet on a daily basis to discuss clients, discuss what they can realistically achieve as a team, and support clients to participate in the environment. Self-directed work teams are developing and rosters are set. Staff support one another with sick leave and holidays. Team decision-making continues to develop to include problem-solving, planning special events, but again, as I said, much stronger emphasis on client participation in decision-making around the day-to-day occurrences. Staff now work around clients. If an outing is planned and 1 or 2 don't want to attend, staff take turns in staying back to support those who didn't want to go. Senior management help out where required to support the activity of the household. Clients become active members. Client committees are now well established and facilitated by staff, but the decisions are ultimately made and kept with clients. Staff sit with clients for all meals. Time spent around the morning tea table, lunch table is seen as valuable to promote well-being, becoming well-known and promoting that relaxed household environment. The staff support client goals and it is now a very flexible approach. Policies and procedures continue to develop to support this new world. Clients, or club members as they're now called, are actively engaged in the community. Animals and children are just part of the norm. Reporting and accountability, unfortunately, remains traditional through the hierarchical structure, but we have to have that as a strong framework. But the team, the internal team, now holds themselves accountable for implementing innovation, for certain problem solving, team culture and for cooperation. The broader group takes responsibility to involve the clients, their families, and families now regularly access the household, also something that is very different to the traditional model. Families feel comfortable to stay and to drop in to attend meetings, monthly lunches and afternoon teas. And why? Because we have implemented so much person-centred tools that they know that they can actually spend time getting to know the clients as well. This is now a person-centred model, often called the household, quite a paradigm away from that traditional model. The exemplar model is an extension of the advanced model. It is the optimal person-centred approach. Here, staff continue to meet daily. Management support from a distance, staff report to management on a monthly basis, and advise management now what has been occurring. That's very different. Staff hold themselves responsible and accountable. The organisational chart has clients in the centre of everything that is done. Club members have ownership over the clubs. A strong framework based on your vision and philosophy has been developed, and it underpins a person-centred approach. This vision, this philosophy is well known by staff, well known by volunteers, well known by your clients because they feel it, and also well known by the families, and now even the wider community. Education is high on the agenda for everyone. Children regularly access the day clubs, and clients are now regularly accessing playgroups outside and attending school groups. Pets are part of the day-to-day life, and families and the wider community are part of the culture of that household. Clubs grow and evolve depending on the members who access them. We're not able to sustain exemplar all the time. We flit in and out of this stage and are not here all the time. While it is achievable to remain in the exemplar stage, it is unrealistic to feel that you can stay here 24/7. Continuous improvement is a requirement of our funding body. It is something we all strive for. If we truly want to be exemplar, then we have to work hard at it and we have to slip in and out of this exemplar phase. The exemplar model is an organic experience, and human nature is that we are always changing. There's lots of factors that influence culture. We know that when a new staff member comes in or a new volunteer. And clients, of course, change the dynamics of that service. In the case of staff and volunteers, it's the leadership team's responsibility to educate everyone and so that they understand the service culture, vision and philosophy. When a new client accesses our service, we now discuss with them the way we are and find out who they are and what it is our service can do for them. Again, this is very different. A client doesn't present and us say, this is what we do, here's our structured routine. We ask them, we find out about them, and we try and meet their domains of well-being. If you are truly working in a person-centred way, then it is the people who access the service, your consumers, your customers, your clients, your club members, who dictate the way it will be. This in itself is such a paradigm away from the traditional model, because in a traditional model, as I said, we expect clients to fit into the way we do things. When you are here, you now have something very unique. It will become organic, and what you saw in Dare to Dream, you may not replicate exactly. But what you will start providing is something more extraordinary, and you will have such a great marketing opportunity to help you to grow and develop as well as an organisation. Just imagine for a moment that a client comes to your service, to your household, and suggests that he wants to take up an activity that is something you have not done before. For example, a client wants to go boating over summer. This client has been a member of the yacht club for over 30 years and is able to organise for all clients, all staff and families who attend on his day to go boating down at, let's say, the Fremantle Yacht Club over summer. What would happen? In a traditional model, the answer would be no, too risky. In a basic household model, let's think about that next year. We really have to work on our policies on that. And as you grow and evolve in an intermediate model, perhaps we can ask the group if they'd like to go to the beach each week over summer. And in an advanced household model, we ask the clients who wants to go, and they say maybe 3 or 4 times a year. You survey the clients. But in an exemplar model, what do you think might happen? That's right. In an exemplar model, we say, sure, let's ask the clients who want to go and make it work for those who do. When we take our foot off the accelerator, being in the exemplar stage, it only supports us to stay in that advanced household model. If we slip back too far, if we let all those things that distract us from our culture, new staff, change of management, whatever it might be, we are so in danger of slipping back into our traditional ways. I can't stress enough how important it is to keep a tab on your culture. The further along you get, moving towards the exemplar model, the more difficult it will be to slip back into those traditional ways. It is important to sustain a household model that the staff and leadership team have to remain diligent in communicating as a team, observing the way it is and always striving to be the way it can be, based on the clients who are accessing the service. It's a revolving door, we know that. Some benefits of a household model. The household model supports clients with wellness, independence and reablement. A well-established philosophy and vision based on well-being. Look at the person, not the disease. We do with, not for a client. In a household model, relationships matter. Communication is at an all-time high across all people and departments. In a household model, it is an organic experience, always changing, not a mechanical one that remains static. Staff and volunteers have high satisfaction, so we have a higher staff and volunteer retention. In a household model, it sets you apart from other services and gives you a point of difference to market your service. Some quotes from our Dementia Partnership partners. After they've spent some time moving from, just say they're in a traditional or a basic, once they've spent some time looking and reviewing, these are some of the comments that have come back. Now our emphasis is not on what clients are having for morning tea, but on the conversation we have with them when we sit around the tea table and talk to them. We're really getting to know our clients and each other as a team. We actually ask our clients what they might like to do, rather than working off that scheduled planner. One staff member said, "We're working as a team. There is so much more focus on communication. We are now more flexible. We plan our day, but we are open to change based on what the clients want to do. Surprisingly, we actually have more direction working this way." Another staff member said, "I now understand what it means by being spontaneous. I can't believe we are actually going to start taking people with dementia on outings. We need to plan for this, but it's so exciting to think we can actually take people out into the community." So it's not impossible, it's not too risky, it's not pointless, and I really recommend you give it a go. My advice to you all is sheer persistence and determination. Never give up, and as I always say to staff when I'm working with them, never say never. This presentation is not intended to criticise anyone here today. At Alzheimer's Australia WA, we don't see ourselves as anything other than supporting people with dementia to be who they are, to be who they want to be, and to be the me in dementia. So that is the end of our presentation from the Dementia Partnership Project Centre-Based Day Care team.